I want to talk today about the power of being authentic. I have been watching recently a documentary about Celine Dion. And I have to admit, it really awakened a lot of emotions in me. But one of the thoughts that came was very loud. Watching Celine Dion talking authentically about her life and her struggles and her wins and her passions, I thought, finally, there is someone who talks openly about contrast in life. For many years, I've been wondering, why do we hear about all those stars, actors, filmmakers, musicians, and we hear a lot about them when they are successful, when they are in their prime time. But it felt almost like they disappear from this world the moment when their career ends. Or sometimes they just disappeared. And I was thinking, what happened with that person? Where is that person? And that's how we were growing in that belief that that's the reason why we as human beings were so easily perceiving the film stars, musicians as superheroes is because we only saw them in their prime. We haven't seen their all colors. We saw only part. But that's not what life is. We know that life is full of contrast. There are ups and downs. And those ups and downs are also being experienced by stars like Celine Dion. And when I was watching her speaking so openly about her life and really showing those moments, those challenging moments in her life, I felt gratitude that finally we become, as human beings, so conscious that we feel brave enough to show ourselves authentically. That's the beautiful shift in our energy, in our consciousness. That's what I thought. And that contrast that is present in all our lives, it's important to understand that our ups and downs don't lay on the scale, vertical scale, like down is down and up is up. I choose to see it as ups and downs lay on the same scale, on the horizontal line, where the energy just shifts, but it's the same line. There is no change in terms of good or bad. So when we experience those ups and downs in our life, it's important to understand the beauty of that contrast. And it's important to stop labeling it, those experiences, as good or bad. And when we stop that, we become powerful creators. We become empowered. Let's take a look at another example. For example, for years, when I was experiencing disagreements in my romantic relationship, I was labeling those disagreements as bad moments in the relationship. I met my current partner 3.5 years ago. And through the spirit of 3.5 years, we have been really growing as a couple. But we wouldn't be able to grow without the downs that we experienced together. And there were many, trust me, there were many. But I think for the first 2 years, every time we had a disagreement, I was looking at it, putting it in the perspective, in the vertical perspective. So every disagreement meant for me a failure, bad moment in the relationship, something to avoid, something to run away from. And good moments were at the top of that vertical line. Good moments were here. So I was navigating in this vertical line, trying to avoid disagreements, or when the disagreements were taking place, I was going down energetically into that either victim mode, or feeling down, suffering, thinking, what is wrong? Why doesn't it work, etc. Until the moment when I realized that this contrast is like the seasons. This contrast is not bad or good. This contrast lays on one horizontal scale, and the intensity of the experience just moves on that horizontal scale. So there is nothing as good or bad anymore. There's nothing as good or bad. I have to stop labeling that and just choose to see it as the part of the whole. Both parts, disagreements and amazing moments, are the part of the whole. Like the moment when the tree loses its leaves because it's getting ready for the winter, and the part when the tree starts blossoming because it's getting ready for the summer. That's the same. The part of the whole. And what a shift in perception that was. We need those parts. We don't have to run away from them. So when my perception changed and I stopped labeling different experiences, for example, in my relationship as good or bad, and started seeing them as the part of the whole, I became curious. And curiosity is a gift. I became curious. I started looking at our fights and disagreements from a different perspective. And we both did. And we started learning a lot from those moments. And we started seeing them as gifts. Those moments where we are in disagreement, those moments where things don't go as smooth as we would like to, those moments when we feel triggered, these are gifts. And they're equally powerful and giving as those wonderful moments, wonderful romantic memories that we create, for example, when we travel together or when we are sitting on the couch with a glass of red wine and talk about our day or just laugh watching some movies on TV. There is place for all of that. And contrast is something needed in our life. Contrast is a gift in our life. And when we choose to see our life from that perspective, and we choose curiosity rather than judgment, we stop running away from things. We welcome things. We welcome that contrast and become more authentic. Like Celine Dion, who inspires with her authenticity. But we need to be ready to receive that. I remember I've heard a comment that a journalist, after watching the documentary, made a comment, why isn't she wearing any makeup? Why is she showing that those strong emotions? Why is she showing herself in sickness? It was judgment. There was no curiosity. But it tells more about the journalist than Celine Dion. It just shows that the journalist is scared of the truth, scared because at the end of the day, we know that we all are human beings. And that means that all of us are prone to experiencing similar struggles, challenges in our life. What Celine Dion did, she just showed her true self. You need to be brave to do that. You need to be aware and conscious to do that. But luckily, there are more and more of us who become brave and authentic, because there is the power in authenticity, in being authentic. There is power in that. Much more power than in just being successful, much more power than just showing that happy face. When I speak about my relationship, when I speak openly about our struggles, but from this perspective, not from that perspective, from horizontal perspective, not vertical perspective, it's easier for people to connect. It's easier for people to see themselves in my stories. It's easier for us to give ourselves permission to be authentic. And there is power in being authentic. There is power in admitting that I struggle too. But my struggle doesn't mean that I failed. My struggle doesn't mean that it's something negative in my life. My struggle doesn't lay down on this vertical line. My struggle is the part of the whole experience. I could even draw a circle, and the struggle just goes around just the same way as the success goes around. They are part of the same. They are needed because there is also a lot of teaching in our challenges. A lot of lessons are hidden or just wait for us in our challenges. We grow through those challenges. I guarantee you that if my life in a relationship, for example, because we can also talk about the business angle, but as an example, if my life in this relationship was going just smooth, no arguments, always agreeing about everything, I wouldn't grow the same way as I did in the last 3.5 years. My partner wouldn't grow the same way as he did in the last 3.5 years. We wouldn't. As a child, I learned to judge good, bad, vertical line, good, bad, good, bad, good, bad. As an adult who works on consciousness, on becoming more conscious, more aware, I noticed that there is no point in judging something as good or bad. But instead, I see the circle and the elements that bring us joy and that bring us challenges. They are part of the whole. They are needed. They make the difference. If there was only struggle, we wouldn't grow. If there was only joy, we wouldn't grow, we wouldn't evolve, we wouldn't experience the life in its fullness. I like those winter moments when I start missing warmth of the summer, when I start missing the colors of the summer. But when I go through the summer, there are moments when I get tired of the heat. I stop noticing the beautiful flowers because they become obvious. So I notice the gift of all the seasons, the gift of contrast, the gift of change. And then metaphorically, I move into my private life, business life, and I start appreciating the contrast on this line or the circle, where everything is the part of the whole. Thank you for listening. Thank you for being here. Let me know how you experience contrast in your life and whether that's the distinction between good or bad, shifting it into the wheel or a circle, makes any difference to you in your perception and in your way of experiencing life. And I want to thank Celine Dion for opening up, for showing up in all the colors, for being brave to be authentic and opening that gate, that permission to more people, hopefully, to show their real colors and give all of us permission to be real, authentic, just as we've always experienced life ever since we were born. Have a beautiful day. Have a beautiful day filled with contrast, which only enriches your life.